Welcome to our deep dive. Today we're exploring The Garden Within by Dr. Anita Phillips.
Oh, this one. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this.
Me too. And, as I was reading it, I was just really struck by, uh, how she uses this analogy of the heart as a garden?
Hmm.
Have you ever, stopped to think about your emotional well-being as being like the actual soil, that nourishes your spiritual, mental, even physical growth?
Yeah, I think she makes that connection so well. It's like it makes you think about what is the state of our own inner soil?
Right.
Is it fertile? Is it ready to support growth, or is it kind of depleted, full of weeds?
Yeah, and I love that. That's what I love about this book is that makes you really examine what's going on, internally.
Definitely.
And speaking of examining, I thought it was really cool how she kind of wove her own story into the book too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up in a faith-filled home, and then witnessing her sister's struggles with mental illness, it really seemed to shape her perspective on the interconnectedness of our emotions and spirituality and health.
It definitely adds another layer to the book
Yeah.
because she's speaking from this place of personal experience. Take, for instance, her focus on the parable of the sower.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I mean, we all know that story, right? But she
Right.
applies it in such a unique way to our emotional states and how they can hinder our spiritual growth.
Right. It's like that visual of the seeds being scattered
Mm-hmm.
on the different types of soil.
Right.
So she connects the wayside soil to sadness.
Okay.
Have you ever felt that?
Yeah.
Where grief or disappointment, it just makes it hard to connect with anything, even your faith.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Nothing can take root.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just,
It's almost like that hard ground.
yeah. And I like how she doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either.
No, she doesn't.
She talks about Maria, a woman in the book who loses her daughter.
Wow.
And it's heartbreaking, but it's that's that wayside within us
Yeah.
that sadness can create.
Yeah. Okay, so then there's the stony ground.
Okay.
And she relates that to anger and frustration.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it made me think about how resentment can really block growth.
Oh, for sure.
When you're holding on to bitterness,
Yeah.
it prevents you from moving forward.
It's like the soil is too hard.
Yeah.
And rocky for anything to take root,
Totally. Yeah.
deeply. And she gives the example of John, who's dealing with his son's diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And just lets anger build up, isolates himself from his community and even his purpose.
It's it really brings the parable to life, right?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Then, of course, there's the thorny soil. And this one hit home for me because I tend to worry.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot.
Yeah.
And she connects that to fear and insecurity.
Right.
All those anxieties that can
Yeah.
choke out your potential.
It's we can, we think about oh, this is happening or that's happening and what if this happens?
Yeah.
But it's what's happening internally,
Yeah.
Are we letting fear just dictate our choices?
Yeah. Okay. Ready for a mind-blowing concept?
Okay, hit me.
She argues that feelings actually come before our thoughts.
Oh, wow. I always thought it was the other way around.
Me too.
Really?
I know.
Huh.
But she explains it, and it makes so much sense. She's saying that our emotions create the soil
Right.
from which our thoughts grow.
Okay.
So if our emotional foundation is unstable or unhealthy, it's
Yeah.
going to impact our thought patterns and ultimately our actions.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's she says, thinking is just a Q&A session in our minds.
Mm.
The questions we ask ourselves, though, are heavily influenced by that emotional soil
Okay.
we're working with.
Yeah.
So, it made me think about how differently we might respond to challenges, depending on if we're coming at it from a place of fear or a place of faith.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right. And she uses this great example. Okay, imagine your friend bought a puppy,
Okay.
but then they realize, oh, this isn't a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think their first thought would be, how can I get rid of this puppy without feeling guilty?
Probably not. No.
No, they would likely think, how can I find this puppy a loving home?
Right. Exactly.
So their pre-existing feelings of responsibility and compassion would immediately shape, their thought process.
Totally. Yeah.
So it's she says, their emotions, specifically their care for the puppy, inform the questions they ask and the actions they take.
Yeah.
It's really highlighting how crucial it is to tend to that emotional well-being because it's the foundation, really, for how we think and act in the world.
And that brings us to another fascinating the concept. She talks about the role of the vagus nerve.
Oh, tell me about this.
She calls it the tree of life within because it connects our heart, brain, and gut.
Wow.
So it's essentially acting as this communication highway between our emotional and physical selves.
So wait, our emotions have like a direct impact on our physical well-being.
Right.
I mean, I've definitely noticed like stress can lead to a headache
Right.
or a stomach ache,
Mm-hmm.
but I never really connected the dots.
It's all connected.
Yep.
And she uses real examples like from her practice, like Brian, who suffers from chronic pain.
Mm-hmm.
He discovers a strong link between his pain levels and his emotional state.
Interesting. Okay, so it's like mind, body, spirit,
Mm-hmm.
it's all connected.
It's all connected.
And that's kind of like the premise of this whole book, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think, it's really good reminder that neglecting our emotional well-being can have tangible consequences for our physical health. But here's the thing. It's not all doom and gloom.
Okay, good.
There are things that we can do
Yes, tell me.
to strengthen our vagus nerve and regulate our emotional responses.
Okay, what can we do?
Well, have you ever noticed, like, how taking a few deep breaths can just, like, calm you down
Oh, yeah, for sure.
when you're feeling stressed or anxious?
Sometimes I catch myself holding my breath
Yes.
when I'm overwhelmed, yeah.
And that's, like, our body's natural response to stress.
Yeah.
So those deep breaths actually help to counteract that response by activating the vagus nerve
Mhm.
and calming that nervous system.
So it's not just breathing. It's things like touch, spending time in nature,
Yes.
like fostering positive social connections.
All these things can play a role.
So it's about creating a lifestyle that really does support, mind, body, spirit.
Exactly.
This is making so much sense.
I know. It all comes together.
It's like we're getting to the root of what it means to live a truly healthy and fulfilling life.
And that's what she emphasizes throughout the book.
Yeah.
True well-being
Yeah.
is holistic. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of our physical, emotional, and spiritual selves.
So where do we go from here? What are some of the ways we can actually start, like, tending to our own heart gardens?
Well, she delves into a number of practical tools and practices.
Okay.
So, from addressing specific emotional challenges like sadness and anger to exploring, the power of words, the importance of self-compassion.
Ooh, this is so fascinating. I can't wait to, like, dive deeper into those practical strategies.
Me too. I'm curious to see, like, how you apply some of these concepts to your own life. What resonates with you most so far?
Honestly, I'm really intrigued by this vagus nerve
Yeah.
and how we can strengthen it. Like, that blows my mind. I'm definitely going to be trying out some of those deep breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Maybe spend a bit more time in nature. How about you? What stands out to you?
I think what strikes me most is just the emphasis on the interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's this powerful reminder that we can't compartmentalize our lives. Our physical, emotional, spiritual well-being are all intertwined. Neglecting one area impacts the others.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like she's saying, like, look at your whole self.
Yeah.
Don't just focus on one thing. It's all a part of you.
It's all part of the garden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be exploring more in the next part of our deep dive.
That's right. Picking up where we left off, I was really interested in, Dr. Phillips' discussion of mental illness.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's still so much stigma surrounding these conditions. And I like how she tackles it head on,
Mm-hmm.
with compassion and clarity.
Yes. And she brings up a point that I thought was really interesting about how we tend to separate mental and physical illnesses
Right.
as if one is somehow more real
Right.
than the other.
Exactly.
And she's saying, no, they both stem from within our bodies.
Yeah.
It's just the symptoms that differ.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. It's like, mental disorders might involve like changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior
Yeah.
that cause distress, while physical disorders might involve physical symptoms.
Right.
But ultimately, both are health conditions,
Yeah.
and both can often improve with the right approach.
That's such a good point. And it makes, like, seeking help for mental health challenges just seem less daunting.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, just as you'd see a doctor for a physical ailment,
Right.
therapy can be like a powerful tool
Absolutely.
for addressing emotional and mental struggles.
And she even stresses that therapy is beneficial for everyone,
Oh, interesting.
not just those experiencing, severe mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
We all have these emotional gardens that need tending, and therapy can provide like the tools and the support to cultivate greater well-being.
Okay, so going back to this idea of our minds and emotions working together.
Yeah.
I love how she uses the analogy of like soil and a plant to illustrate this relationship.
It's such a good analogy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's like, the soil provides the foundation for the plant to grow.
Right.
Just like our emotions create the soil from which our thoughts sprout.
And it can go both ways, right?
Yeah, so it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
So the plant, in turn, influences the soil.
Right.
Just as our thoughts and behaviors can nourish or deplete our emotional well-being.
Okay. Thinking about tending the soil, there was this concept that really struck me.
Okay.
Spiritual bypassing.
Ah.
And I think this is something that a lot of people might do without even realizing it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So can you explain what spiritual bypassing is?
Yeah. So it's when we use spirituality to kind of avoid dealing with difficult emotions or past trauma. So it's like putting a spiritual Band-Aid on a deep wound.
Right.
Without actually addressing the root cause. And she cautions against doing this.
Yeah.
Both to ourselves and to others. It's instead of offering like quick fixes or platitudes, we need to be present with people who are hurting, offering genuine support and understanding.
It's about meeting people where they are.
Yes.
Emotionally and spiritually.
Yeah.
And just walking with them.
Yeah. Accompanying them on that journey.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of healing, that brings us back to the vagus nerve.
Right.
The tree of life within that she talks about. I was amazed to learn about its power to regulate our emotional responses.
Yeah.
And to promote well-being.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
we can do these things,
Yeah.
We practice deep breathing. We spend time in nature, We foster meaningful connections.
Yeah.
Things we may already enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But we're actually strengthening this nerve and its ability to help us,
Yeah.
navigate the ups and downs of life.
I'm curious, how does she relate all of this back to the parable of the sower?
Well, she connects the different types of soil to specific emotional challenges.
Okay.
So, for instance, the wayside soil representing sadness. It's like that barren landscape where nothing takes root.
Right.
The stony ground reflecting anger is hard and unforgiving, unable to support deep growth.
Okay.
And then the thorny soil, symbolic of fear, is choked with weeds, preventing anything from flourishing.
But here's what's so encouraging, right?
Yes.
Even if we find ourselves, in one of those less than ideal soil conditions,
Right.
she offers practical tools to address them.
Exactly. And she presents these exercises, like the 5-hour exercise for dealing with sadness, the firewood exercise for releasing anger, and, techniques like engaging the 5 senses to calm fear and anxiety.
So she's not saying, like, judge yourself if you have these emotions.
Right. No.
They're a normal part of being human, right?
Right. Exactly. And often, like, just, trying to suppress them just makes things worse.
Right.
And I love how she reframes our relationship with these emotions. It's not about pretending they don't exist or trying to, like, force them away.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging them, listening to what they're telling us,
Yeah.
and responding with compassion and care.
She reminds us that, even though these emotions might be difficult,
Yeah.
they're not our enemies.
Yeah.
They're actually valuable sources of information
Yes.
that can guide us toward growth.
Right. Like, instead of fearing the weeds in our garden, we can learn to identify them, understand why they're there, and choose how to best tend to the soil so that something beautiful can still flourish.
So it's about, like, seeing that potential for transformation.
Yes.
Even in those, like, difficult emotions.
Yeah.
And that healing and growth are always possible.
Always. And, even beyond individual well-being, Dr. Phillips invites us to kind of consider how all of this connects to the broader concept of shalom. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which is, not just about achieving, like, inner peace,
Yeah.
but about contributing to a state of wholeness that extends outwards.
Right.
So impacting our relationships in the world around us.
Right. And she dives into a particularly, like, intriguing aspect of shalom,
Yes.
the power of words.
Words.
And it made me think about how, we can use language to either build others up or tear them down. and how we talk to ourselves, right?
Absolutely,
It
yeah.
can have a huge impact.
Yeah, because, Dr. Phillips suggests that language, as a reflection of the image of God within us, has this ability to create or destroy.
Powerful.
It's like those words carry energy,
Yeah.
shaping our reality.
Yeah, it reminded me of that saying, words can be like tiny pieces of arsenic, slowly killing over time.
Ooh, that's a good one.
But of course, they can also be like medicine, bringing healing and encouragement. Exactly. And she shares a personal story about, um, struggling with intense anger
Mm.
and realizing that her words in that moment had the potential to cause real harm.
Wow.
And it was this turning point for her. She began intentionally choosing to speak words of life,
Right.
affirming the goodness of God and the inherent worth of herself and others.
It's like she's saying that our words are this powerful tool
Yes.
for cultivating either a thriving garden or a barren wasteland
Yes, exactly.
within ourselves and in our relationships.
Yeah, and it's a practice, right?
Yeah.
That requires ongoing intention and awareness.
Yeah.
But the more we align our words with our values, ensuring they reflect love, compassion, respect,
Right.
the more we contribute to that beautiful vision of shalom.
This idea of aligning our words with our values, that really speaks to me. It's like a daily challenge
Yeah.
to be more mindful of what we say. But beyond words, she also highlights the importance of, tending to our physical needs.
Yes.
As part of nurturing our well-being.
Absolutely. And it's so easy to neglect those basics.
Yeah.
Like hydration, nutrition, sleep
Yeah.
when we're busy and stressed. But she reminds us that our bodies are the temples of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
And they deserve to be treated with care.
It's like tending the soil again.
Yes, exactly.
Of our physical selves.
Yes.
Making sure it has the nourishment and the rest.
Yes.
To support everything else
Yeah.
we're doing to cultivate well-being.
And she's not advocating for like some, unattainable ideal of perfection.
Right.
It's about making conscious choices
Yeah.
that support our overall well-being.
Yeah.
Recognizing that even small changes can make a big difference.
It's about creating a lifestyle that nourishes
Yes.
our bodies, our minds, our spirits.
Yes.
Helping us to flourish, like from the inside out. It's inspiring to think about all of these different elements kind of working together.
Yes.
The physical care of our bodies, the tending of our emotional gardens, and the cultivation of our spiritual connection. All of these contribute to that state of holistic well-being.
It really is. It's like a beautiful vision. And it makes you think, like, what would happen if we all started paying more attention to our own heart gardens?
Right.
What kind of transformation could we see?
That's a powerful question to ponder. And speaking of powerful questions, she leaves us with one as we move into the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
What area of your heart garden might need some extra attention today? That question, it really got me thinking, what if, we approached our lives with the same care and attention that we give to a garden?
Yeah.
Like imagine weeding out negative thoughts, nurturing positive emotions, creating that space, where our spirit can truly flourish.
It's a beautiful image. And she reminds us that, it takes work. Like tending to our inner garden is an ongoing effort.
Right.
It's just like a real garden needs regular watering, weeding, fertilizing.
It's so easy to forget that though, right? Like to get caught up in the busyness of life. And we kind of neglect those things, those essential practices.
Absolutely.
But when we do make time for it, the rewards, they're immeasurable.
For sure.
Speaking of those essential practices, there's one area she really emphasizes that I think, often gets overlooked.
What's that?
Self-compassion.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
And she points out how, for many of us, that inner critic is much harsher than we would ever be to, like, a friend or a loved one.
Oh, 100%.
Right. We're constantly judging ourselves, focusing on our flaws, minimizing, like, our accomplishments.
Yeah, it's like we have this negative chatter, this cape, just playing in our minds, telling us we're not good enough, smart enough, worthy enough.
It's exhausting.
It really is.
Right.
And it creates that toxic soil.
Yes.
In
our garden.
It makes it difficult for anything positive to grow.
Yeah.
But she offers a powerful antidote of self-compassion.
Oh, tell me about this.
So it's about treating ourselves with the same kindness, understanding, and acceptance that we would offer to someone we care about.
So it's like silencing that inner critic,
Exactly.
replacing it with encouragement and support.
Yeah. Like instead of berating ourselves for mistakes, we acknowledge we're human,
Yeah.
we're learning, we're doing the best that we can.
It's not about lowering our standards, right?
No, not at all.
Or becoming complacent. It's about recognizing like our inherent worthiness,
Exactly.
treating ourselves with grace,
Yeah.
especially when we're struggling.
Especially when we're struggling. And I love how she connects this to the biblical concept of being made in the image of God.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's this reminder that we are inherently valuable, worthy of love, regardless of our imperfections, our failures. And it makes you think, like, what would happen if we all started practicing more self-compassion?
Right. Like, how would it impact us? How would it impact our relationships, our work,
Exactly.
our well-being?
Our well-being. Yeah, I think it would be transformative. Like, imagine a world where people were gentler with themselves.
Yeah.
More understanding of others. A world where mistakes were seen as opportunities for growth. Imperfections were embraced as part of what makes us unique and beautiful.
It's something I'm definitely going to be working on.
Me too.
And it ties in with everything, really, that we've been discussing about tending to our heart gardens.
Right.
It's about creating a space within ourselves where we can truly flourish emotionally and spiritually.
And remember, like, tending to this garden is a process.
Yeah.
There will be seasons of growth and seasons of dormancy, times of abundance, times of scarcity. But the key is to keep showing up, keep nurturing the soil, keep believing in the potential for transformation.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some, like, perfect state of well-being.
Right.
It's about embracing the journey,
Yeah.
with all its ups and downs, and trusting that even amidst those challenges, we can choose growth, healing, and hope.
And so as we wrap up our deep dive into the garden within, I want to encourage you to just keep reflecting on that question that we started with.
Yeah.
What area of your heart garden might need some extra attention today?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What small step can you take to, nourish your emotional well-being, cultivate a deeper connection with God, or just show yourself a little more kindness and compassion?
Remember, you are worthy of love and belonging just as you are. And that power to flourish, it lies within you. Thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Until next time, keep digging deep.